Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course stream for fun. Today we're going to take a look at gaming news. I know it's a little bit late. This is Monday. It's been pretty busy, and there's also been some things that I've wanted to do for the channel that I have up, along with everything else. But like one of them was the PAL World preview that I wanted to take a look at and share with you guys. That's up right now. But yeah, we're going to do gaming news. This one is a shorter one. There's also something else that I'm going to talk about later for a small state of gaming that I think is worth talking about, and that's someone that was interviewed with one of the bosses or executives of Ubisoft. Talking about how people, like us, gamers, need to be able to just be okay with not having physical games. So that's going to be a state of the gaming later. And then, of course, with this one, you can always, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can go ahead and put the play speed to 1.25 times. That always helps me get through my videos a little faster, and that can help you guys out too. So today we're going to be talking about PAL Worlds. We're going to be talking about the CD Projekt Red sequel. We're going to talk about GameStop NFTs a little bit. The new actors deal that they struck for like a month or a couple months. And SAG-AFTRA, we're going to talk about the deal that they didn't know, which just feels like a stab in the back. We're going to talk too about a little bit of Twitter and a new way to do DLC and kind of like microtransaction events in Apex Legends. And then we're going to talk about YouTube, something kind of nefarious they're doing. With the continued fight against ad blockers. So, of course, as always, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can always follow me over at YouTube at GamingGarbage22 and also over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. And you can leave me messages to leave me a whisper if you have some concerns or some questions about the channel or whatever. You can always whisper me over at Twitch. And then otherwise, let us know too what you think about the gaming news or on any of the videos. Go ahead and leave a comment and engage. And then, like and sub, all that good stuff, of course. But two, also share the content that you enjoy. That will, I think that will help out the channel more than anything else. So let's go ahead and get started. So PAL Worlds, this has been the big one. They launched a preview on Xbox Game Pass, and I think it's also on PC Game Pass as well. And then you can also get it at the Steam store, and I think the Epic Store too, though I didn't confirm that. So it's not everywhere. This is a preview. So far, structurally as a preview, it's pretty good. I'll dig into a little bit of the game itself, and then I'll talk about just my thoughts on it. And PAL Worlds is breaking records. So this is basically Pokemon with guns, where you're able to craft, you're able to base build, you're able to collect animals called pals by throwing a orb at them that captures them, right? Just like Pokemon. And you're also able to play with up to 3 other players. There's also NPCs in the world too, and then there's firearms on top of that. So you can work through the crafting system to get to your firearms and your rockets and whatever else. There's also boss battles, and there's also dungeons to run through. And this is all in an open world. And so, and there's even elements of survival and stuff you have to deal with, too hot or too cold, you're thirsty or you're starving. You got to deal with all those things too in the game. And so it's pretty well fleshed out. And this has now a peak on Steam charts at 1.5 million players. Concurrent players, which is crazy. Currently, right now, it's sitting just above 900,000. That's about 200,000 above Counter-Strike Go, which has been holding the record for quite some time. And this is almost double the players on Steam charts for Baldur's Gate's peak at like about 850,000. Yeah, 1.5 million concurrent players. And, two, folks, this isn't even a game that's released yet. This is basically just early access or game preview, whatever you'd like to call it. We don't know exactly when it's supposed to release. We know it's supposed to be this year, but now is that going to be an official release of the full game, or is this going to stay in kind of like game preview mode or early access for a while as they continue to tweak and add to the game? And so far, There have been some server issues. I even showed that when I was playing just by myself. I had my game crash. The server went out, and Pocket Pair is the developer. They're working with Epic Games right now to actually stabilize their servers. And so far, that issue seems to be resolved, but it doesn't mean that it can't come back. But man, when you have 1.5 million just on Steam charts, that's not including all the Xbox folks in Game Pass. That's crazy. There is a ton of people playing this game. They have millions that are trying this out. I even see folks on my friends list. I can tell whether they have Game Pass or not because they're playing the Pal World preview. And honestly, my own thoughts is that it's fairly good. All of the things are kind of there. We have like crafting like Minecraft. We have kind of like the open worldness that we've been looking for. There's also other NPCs and characters and enemies, friends info in the game, and there's multiple ways to play. There's different things to work on or work toward. There's blueprints in the game, and there's a massive list of kind of like tier levels to work through in base building and crafting. And you can make your base huge. You can farm. There's over 111 pals that you can collect and level up and work with, and they actually can level and rank up too, just like you can. And you can also have them craft for you or farm for you or whatever. And you can also ride some of the bigger ones. And then you can add guns all on top of it. And so this is all done pretty well. Yeah, everything is done really well, and it's a 4-player co-op on top of that. So I do feel like the world could get kind of small after a while. Crashes probably will still be a problem, so they're going to work on stability and probably UI improvements first and other patches. But I do hope they continue to add animals every so often. I hope they continue to add different locations or keep expanding the map. The map was not overly big for an open world, but it's still pretty large. I'd say it's smaller than Sea of Thieves, but Sea of Thieves is mostly water. But yeah, if you guys can, check it out for yourselves. The game preview is on Game Pass, whether it's PC, console, or Ultimate, doesn't matter. And you could just try it too, just for a little bit, just to see. And yeah, it definitely has the potential to be a huge game. So far, I think we're going to see this spike and then have it kind of curtail off. And then whether it kind of sustains itself, we'll have to see. But yeah, Pal World, it's a game I'm definitely going to play for probably about 10 more hours or so. But yeah, I just want to see if it really has legs or not. I hope it does. Again, this is something that we've kind of hoped for with like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley or even some of the official Pokemon games with Nintendo. There's just open worlds where we can kind of do what we'd like. You can even capture trainers, folks, or like capture other people in the game, which is hilarious. And it's funny because it gives you a message that's like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that," but oh well. And so yeah, you can capture people and beat them to a pulp basically, and then capture them, and then you own them. I mean, it's just pretty funny. Yeah, it's just kind of play your way and have fun with it. So yeah, if you can, definitely check that out. You can also check that out too on my channel to see the playthrough. It's a little rough, but I have chapters in there so you can take a look. And I'm starting to do chapters in my videos now, as it's more beneficial for you guys, and it doesn't take too long, which is nice. Also, too, Project CD Projekt Red, says that they're now working on the start of their sequel to Cyberpunk, and that Cyberpunk was, quote, just a warm-up. And to me, that's a little bit of an embarrassing warm-up, because it did not launch like it was supposed to. They spent over $50 million on refunds. They spent over another $120 million on just fixing the game, and the total cost of their game was over $600 million. That's expensive. Did they still make some money? Yes, they did. But, when you have $170+ million that could have been saved if you had done it right in the first place, that could have gone down a lot better. And they had a second DLC that they also never launched. So Phantom Liberty, we don't know if that was the first or the second DLC, but the game launched so bad, even PlayStation was giving refunds in their store, which they don't usually do that. They're kind of one of the last holdouts usually for refunds like that. But yeah, it did not go very good. So hopefully they've learned their lessons. They have fixed the game. Phantom Liberty was a complete adjustment as well, and they had a huge update too earlier than that to also kind of fix a lot of stuff in the game. And hopefully they learned their lessons and that the sequel is going to be better. So it's still going to be quite some time before we see it or any announcement or anything. But yeah, if that's a warm-up, boy, that's a brutal. That's like tearing your ACL on a warm-up in sports. And yeah, you're not supposed to be doing that. So hopefully they can do a better job. Also, GameStop has officially announced that they're shutting down their NFT store. Yay! NFTs have been such a scam. Logan Paul had one. Dr. Disrespect is working on a game. We've also, with the last gaming news, we talked about how the ESRB rating is now changing, that anything to do with pay to win or NFTs, that kind of thing, or blockchain is now going to be rated A. And that's going to change pretty much where games can be posted, because they'll allow up to M, but not A. And that's why A basically doesn't exist. It's technically there, but anything with NFT related in blockchain is wonderfully going to be rated A, and that stuff's not going to be as heavily promoted, which is great. But yeah, GameStop, I remember when they started this, and it's like a couple of years ago now. I think it was in 2022, and it's like, folks, what are you doing? Like, there's already bad PR out there about NFTs. People are already hating them. The scams are already coming out. We've also had entire companies that can't even operate in the United States anymore, or have just completely declared bankruptcy, like FTX was an exchange, and they basically embezzled like $37 billion of people's money, and just make it go up, baby, make money go up. I mean, yeah, what a bummer. And we've also had quite a few people that have promoted stuff like this, like Cuban with Voyager, and Tom Brady, and there's been other influencers too that it's like, man, you guys are having lawsuits now because you promoted a scam, unfortunately, and people couldn't see this coming, which sucks. I dabbled a little bit into it, but I was not betting on it at all. I just wanted to try it, see what it was, and yeah, that $300 I lost. And but yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and we still have people trying to make games off of this. The only true blockchain thing that I've seen gaming related that's actually worked and functioned well is Game Pass. That's all built on blockchain. It's an easy transaction and transition between you and the servers and Microsoft, and able to, cloud stream and all of that stuff. That all works off a blockchain, and it works great. They've been doing that since like 2016. And Game Pass has gotten pretty big over the last few years, and their growth is continuing, which is wonderful. I think it's a good service. But again, that gets into something else too, which we'll talk about this in a State of Gaming, is then you don't actually own your games. Instead, you're having a service, which generally speaking could make it cheaper. Because let's say you bought, Redfall outright at $100. Well, you just feel like you wasted that. Redfall is a game that's probably never going to come back. And if you just had it on Game Pass, you got to try it. And you didn't feel like you wasted a ton of money, because there's plenty of other games that are coming, and there's plenty of other games to still play. So there are definite advantages with Game Pass, but I hope that the option sticks around, that we can have the option of buying our physical games and actually have all of the data, too, on the disc, just like Baldur's Gate 3 did, which is great, and Lies of P. But it's incredibly frustrating that we're just slowly losing the ability to own our games. But thank goodness, at least NFTs are on their way out. I don't think we're done, though. I think NFTs are still going to stick around in some shape or form. They're going to find ever creative ways. We know there's a huge patent with Sony of where they want to create a hub where they can move blockchain and crypto and NFT, whatever, not just between games, but also between other platforms and hardware and etc. They want to be able to make it interconnected as much as possible. So we'll see what they do with that in the future. Also, too, Twitter also had NFTs for profiles. And again, it was kind of a thing where, you could have an NFT for a profile and it had a value and all that. Well, Twitter has slowly faded that out silently and just tried to just get rid of it. And again, we're seeing more and more companies that are slowly getting away from this. I really actually worry about the metaverse with Mark Zuckerberg because he basically built all of that off of digital and NFTs and microtransactions, and that's how you monetize. We also know too that China tried just for a little bit to ban loot boxes and NFTs and daily reward microtransaction systems in mobile games, and it severely made the stock go down. So yeah, this war is not over, and unfortunately, in China that was reversed a few days later. So yeah, this war isn't over, but so far we're definitely having an impact, and we need to keep that up. Please do not purchase NFTs on anything. If you don't even really know what they are, then don't get into it. That's a good rule of thumb on anything. But it's good to see that GameStop and Twitter are getting out of this, and that Ubisoft, like they got rid of the court system and now they're having something else. But there's almost been nothing on that either. And even Sega's like, nope, we're not going to get into NFTs. We don't want to get into this because it's not seeming to be beneficial. There's such pushback. It doesn't mean they won't in the future at some point, but at least for now, we're winning the war. We need to keep that up, folks. Another news, the SAG-AFTRA deal. So that's basically voice actors and actresses. And, they struck for like almost 2 months, I think. Slowed a lot of game production, slowed a lot of writing for shows and movies, and it was quite a mess. And there's still probably some effects from that from earlier last year, as that will take months or maybe even a couple of years to completely work through. But now we're finding that the AI replica can learn and replicate voices, and that they're basically charging a one-time fee for voice actors, and then they own the voice after that, and they can still tweak the voice. You can make it higher pitch or softer or quieter or deeper, whatever. And then now the company owns the voice. And so what some are worried about is that now companies and producers are going to be like, hey, we can just get some talented starters that aren't going to require as much money. We can pay them one time. We now own their voice and can tweak it, manipulate it however we want, and then we can use that in our games, movies, and shows. And this is basically going to push out voice actors long term. And that makes it really tough too, because if you don't physically have to have the person in the shot, if it's animation, if it's cartoon drawing, if it's whatever, procedurally generated, etc., well then the voice can also be that too. And we already have some games that have had AI voice acting that actually sound pretty good. We hear them all the time in YouTube ads. We hear them too all the time on Pandora ads and Spotify and whatever. And like we've already kind of getting used to this. And it's just a warning shot for you guys because for some of you that are trying to start your career or figure out what to do, you want to make sure that you can't be replaced. And I was just talking with my cousin about this last night as they came over, and a couple of them did. And we had a good time, by the way. Thanks for asking. But yeah, we were talking about just in the commercial workplace with loading trucks and having freight to move back and forth and shift around and shipping costs and we were just talking about the changes that we're seeing in the industry, just in our small businesses that we work for, and how it's changing throughout the system for warehouse work and for semi-truck transportation and utilization too, just on tarmacs and conveyor belt systems, and how it's kind of just pushing the human workers out of the workforce and being more and more replaced by programs and robotics. And this is coming. And again, I mentioned it before, but McDonald's has their own place where it's all robotic and programs in there. From getting your burger out of the freezer to cooking it to putting it all up and shoving it in a bag and handing it to you. It's all, there's no human interaction whatsoever. And so this is changing, folks. This is happening. This isn't going to stop. It's not us that have a choice. We just have to be adaptive. And for those of us that aren't adaptive, well, we're eventually probably going to be out of a job at some point. Even, globally, some big firms have taken a look at AI jobs that AI could take, or other programming or robotics could take, and that's over 300 million. And again, the world is like 800 billion people, but that's still almost 5% of the workforce in the world that could be replaced. 1 out of every 20 people. And that's a lot. That's a lot of folks. It's also going to improve margins. And robots and programs, they don't need time off. They don't need sick leave. They can learn pretty much instantly. They don't have to be trained as long as some employees. They don't need benefits. They don't need retirement. I mean, there are huge advantages here long term for the company. And so, yeah, I mean, really think about it, folks. Really take time to think about it and think long term about your job and the career you want to go for. You want to make sure that you can't be replaced, because that's already starting to happen. Yeah, just be aware. And two, this is going to happen with voice actors too. We mentioned this too, months ago when this was going on. It's like, folks, with deepfake and AI voices and the strike, it didn't really seem to do anything. And a lot of them too are frustrated and angry because they don't feel like they were represented very well. And it was all done behind closed doors, and so, oh well, it is what it is. They basically striked for nothing, which sucks. And yeah, it ain't gonna get better for them. So some of them are gonna have to change their careers, otherwise they're gonna be done. And then too, like, let's say you sell your voice to somebody. Well, can you sell your voice then to somebody else? Or does your voice then become an intellectual property that is licensed or trademarked or branded or is copyrighted? So then you can't sell it to anybody else? Ooh, boy, yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting one to think about. So yeah, they really feel like they got screwed on this one, and they did. They did totally get screwed. And voice actors, they're going to have a tougher time going forward, I think, because the strike didn't do them any favors. Next is Apex Legends. So they have a Final Fantasy event right now where basically you can work toward the Buster Sword, but it's going to cost you probably about $250. And this is one of the most expensive microtransactions I've ever heard. It's just insane, except maybe the ship bundle that Star Citizen has for like 40,000. But like, this sword can be used with any character. It's powerful, and you can use it at any time in Apex Legends when you achieve it or when you get it. But basically, you work on buying packs through this event, and every pack you get the opportunity, and eventually, with enough opportunities, you get it anyway, right? You're basically guaranteed that you're going to get the sword, but by the time you're done getting there, it's $250. It's a ton of money. And you get started with a discount for these packs. You don't have to buy all of the packs. There is an opportunity with 1% to actually get the drop early, or you can work like 100 hours to actually get it for free if you want to put in that amount of time, which 100 hours is a lot just for an event, folks. That's temporary. But otherwise, if you don't get it with any of those methods, then you got to pay for it. And there's a discount for the first several packs or bundles. And then after that, the discount disappears. And it's like, well, you're already like halfway through. And of course you want to continue because now you've spent all of that money and you don't really want to just blow it. So you're going to continue now to keep spending at regular price until you can actually get the sword. And how just disgusting is that? That's scammy. I hate that. And the fact that they can use discounts now to entice players for microtransactions, was $250 is not a microtransaction, folks. That's crazy. But yeah, it's just another ever creative way to have some of the most expensive free-to-play games ever in the history of gaming. And honestly, folks, I would quit most of these. Okay? Warzone, Apex, Valorant, Fortnite, whatever. And two, these companies, they're screwing themselves in the foot too, because they can only license so much stuff. And the whole reason they started licensing stuff in the first place is because they're seeing their player counts drop. So, like, they're selling Homelander, and they've sold Nicki Minaj, and they've sold other influencers, and they've sold Halo, and they've sold other Call of Duty stuff, and they're selling Final Fantasy, and everybody wins in the short term, but in the long term, people eventually start to see through what's really going on, and less people buy and play, and they move to something else that actually has better satisfaction, more value. And we see that with a lot of live services. A ton of live services were actually canceled last year in February. We covered that here on the channel. It's hard to think that was a year ago now. But yeah, live service can only last for so long. Some of them can do a great job, but even Destiny and Bungie, they're totally screwing the pooch on that. And it's just too, you already pay for everything bundled and packaged for you in a nice, $30 or $50 deal. But yeah, eventually people are just going to see through the trash, and you can only license too so much stuff. Eventually it's like, well, I don't really want to buy anything because I already have what I want, and I already bought it. It's like, how many cars are you going to buy, over a 12-month period? Only so many, right? You're going to want to buy the stuff you want, and then that's it. And so live service is going to have to figure out something else, and I'm kind of afraid on what that something else is going to be in the future. But right now, live service is not having a good time. One of the predictions that I had for this year is that we're going to continue to see a focus on single-player games or co-op campaign or story-driven games, and we're going to see a drop in live service. And we're already starting to see that. So, yeah, just awful that Apex Legends, though, would go to that extent of a $250 microtransaction. Gosh, it's just insane, folks. And again, it's just a digital thing in a game. It's not real. You don't actually own anything. If your electricity was off during the ice storm, well, you don't have access to any of it. They can nerf it later like they've done in World of Tanks and War Thunder. They can nerf stuff that you've paid for, or just remove it entirely. There's all sorts of things they can do, and just, it's not worth the money. Invest your money somewhere else. Lastly, too, YouTube has been proven to actually slow your PC. And so if YouTube sees that you have an ad blocker on, you'll get a notification or whatever. But from that moment on, it seems like YouTube has protocols that'll actually add more work for your CPU. Up to 15 to 18%. Some people are registering, somewhere in there, but generally speaking, the people that have tested this is that they're getting an additional 15 to 18% with their ad blocker on, and all they do is just turn it off, test it. Okay, that's what my CPU usage is when I open YouTube, and now let's put my ad blocker on, and holy smokes, it went up 15, 18%. That's crazy. And this includes people that have even paid for premium. So we know YouTube has lost a good chunk of revenue. Google is trying to figure out how to do this. People, too, have probably used ad blockers before, but, when they're losing revenue or they're losing enough, it starts to become an issue, right? And so now they're trying to nip it in the bud. And YouTube can't technically stop you from having an ad blocker, but they can make it less comfortable, less convenient. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to manipulate your PC at home, so that, or maybe even on your mobile device too, so that you don't have as good of an experience, even with premium that you're paying for. And I think that's crazy. I think at least if you have premium on YouTube, it shouldn't affect you, because you're already giving them money, right? But yeah, the biggest business model is one source, ad revenue, right? And if that's being in jeopardy, well, yeah, they got to do something about it as a company. And so here's this continuous war back and forth. And so now what are people going to do? Are they just going to eat that loss in GPU and just continue? Or are enough people going to quit where it's no longer a problem? Or are consumers going to figure out something else? We'll have to see. But yeah, I can't see that as legal. I mean, that's like screwing up your, that's like Activision screwing with your router's performance while you're playing a game. so that you can be more on par with other people that have a sucky internet. Like, that just, that sucks. Oh, and that's something, too, I should probably talk about, is now we're going to get a different skill-based matchmaking with Activision. We're not going to get skill-based anymore. We're now going to get something else. God, I'm trying to remember. I didn't actually write any of this down. But maybe I'll have to cover that in the next gaming news. Yeah, now they're going to try something else. They're actually going to try to, like, base it not off of your skills, but base it off of something else. I wish I could remember what it is. But people still don't seem to like it. They've been complaining about it. And I think matchmaking is just going to be a frustrating pain no matter which way you slice it, because as we covered in our State of the Gaming video with Activision and Call of Duty, is that they're trying to enforce people that don't have microtransactions to buy microtransactions. That's basically the focus. Their patents that they have, that we took a look at, are all focused around getting you to spend more. Even if you've paid for the game, even if you've already bought some, it's like, oh, you don't have this one. And of course, they're adding more microtransactions and bundles for you to purchase in the first place. And then it's like, well, now we're designing an entirely matchmaking system to just get you to pay more. Hey, this guy's doing really good. Why don't you also buy that stuff? And remember, folks, these aesthetics, these cosmetics, they're not supposed to be pay to win to begin with. But they are. Like the Groot skin. Like the Doom shotgun. That thing's flipping overpowered, folks. It's insane. So yeah, they're trying this new matchmaking, but it kind of seems like it screwed Activision over a little bit, because Modern Warfare 3 and especially Warzone, people were having some serious issues and glitches while they were playing the game, including even trying to get your loadout. So they'd go, basically, if you don't know what that is, you go to a loadout box and you're able to select something that you've built and customized for your loadout, and you can take it with you into the game. But it's risky because everybody knows where those loadout boxes are. Everybody's trying to get to them, and so they're hot. There's a lot of people usually around trying to kill everybody else, and it can be a mess for for quite a while. But when people get into these loadout boxes, well, they start glitching. They can't do anything. They get stuck. The screen is kind of like blipping in and out, and it's a mess. And so even my Warzone buddies that I usually play with, they haven't been playing Warzone for a while. They've been doing the multiplayer, and yeah, it's because Warzone has glitches. So supposedly that's already fixed, according to Activision. But yeah, I don't think all of their bugs are fixed. But yeah, when you're changing your matchmaking, there's and having some bigger updates, that's bound to mess up some stuff. And but yeah, again, Warzone is just another dying live service, along with the rest of them. Even Fortnite bringing the old map back and whatever, it brought a lot of people back. But again, I just don't think it can last forever. If one of them could, I really thought it would have been Destiny. But yeah, they started again screwing over the players more and more, paying more for less quality or just less stuff in general, and then taking it away to resell it to you again. Eventually, these companies just have to figure out that live service doesn't work. They can't have something going forever. Nothing is forever, folks. Remember that. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning into the channel. You can always find me over at Gaming Garbage 22 on YouTube, and you can also find me over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can always leave me a whisper on Twitch, and I will be sure to get back to you. So, thanks for liking and subbing if you haven't already. And, those help for sure. But also take time to share the content. If there's content that you like, be sure to share it for me. And with that, folks, be safe out there. I'll see you on the next one.